What if the reason you feel lost, exhausted, and unfulfilled has nothing to do with how hard you are working and everything to do with a method you were never taught? What if somewhere deep inside you there is a version of yourself that is completely calm, completely clear, completely unshakable, but you have been so busy, so distracted, so consumed by the noise of the world that you have never once stopped long enough to meet that person? What if I told you that thousands of years ago, masters inside ancient monastery walls discovered a practice so powerful, so precise, so transformative, that it could reshape a human being from the inside out, and that this method was not lost, it was simply forgotten? Not by history, not by time, but by you, by me, by all of us. Today, right now, in the next few minutes, we are going to walk together towards something most people will never find. Not because it is hidden, but because most people are never willing to be still enough, honest enough, and brave enough to look. Stay with me. What I'm about to share will change something inside you forever. What if the most powerful thing you could ever do for your life required absolutely no equipment, no money, no perfect timing, and yet almost nobody does it? What if the answer to everything you have been searching for was not somewhere out there in the world, but somewhere in here, buried beneath the noise, beneath the distraction, beneath the version of yourself that the world has been slowly, quietly building without your permission? There is a method, an ancient method, a forgotten method, and today we talk about it, not because it is comfortable, but because you came here for the truth, and the truth deserves to be spoken clearly, honestly, and without hesitation. Most people wake up every single morning and immediately reach for their phone, before their feet touch the ground, before they breathe with intention, before they even ask themselves one simple question: who am I today and where am I going? They are already surrendering their mind to the world's agenda before they have had even one single moment to establish their own. This is not a small thing. This is everything, because how you begin shapes how you continue. How you continue shapes who you become, and who you become determines the entire quality of your one single, irreplaceable life. The forgotten method begins with one radical, almost rebellious act in the modern world, and that act is simply this: sit down, be still, and face yourself. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, that sounds too simple. That sounds too small for the size of the problems I carry. You are thinking, I have tried meditation, I have tried breathing, I have tried journaling, and nothing changed. But here is where most people misunderstand the ancient teaching completely. They confuse the tool with the practice. They sit for 5 minutes, feel uncomfortable, feel their thoughts racing, feel the urge to check their notifications, and they call that failure. But that discomfort, that restlessness, that is not failure. That is the practice. The ancient masters understood something that our modern world has almost completely forgotten. The obstacle is not in your way. The obstacle is the way. When you sit in stillness and your mind begins to race, when memories come flooding in, when anxiety rises, when doubt whispers its familiar lies into your ear, most people run. Most people grab their phone, turn on the television, pour another drink, scroll another feed, anything to escape the discomfort of simply being alone with themselves. And here is the devastating truth hiding inside that moment. Every time you run from yourself, you become slightly more of a stranger to yourself. Every single time. Until one day you look in the mirror and you do not recognize the person looking back, not because something terrible happened, but because you were never still enough, never honest enough, never brave enough to truly know who was standing there. The forgotten method does not ask you to be perfect. It does not ask you to silence your thoughts completely. It does not ask you to become someone different. It asks you to become deeply, radically, courageously yourself. There is a philosophy in ancient Shaolin tradition that speaks of the 5 hindrances, 5 forces that live inside the human mind and block a person from their truest potential. The first is desire, the constant craving for more, better, different, louder, faster. The second is aversion, the rejection of discomfort, difficulty, and darkness. The third is restlessness, the inability to be present, the mind always racing toward tomorrow or retreating into yesterday. The fourth is sluggishness, the heaviness that comes when we have fed our body and mind only comfort and convenience for too long. And the fifth, perhaps the most dangerous of all, is doubt, the quiet voice that says, "Who are you to change? Who are you to grow? Who are you to become something more than what you have always been?" These 5 hindrances are not your enemies. They are your teachers, and the forgotten method is simply the daily, consistent, disciplined practice of sitting with these 5 forces, watching them, naming them, understanding them, until they no longer have power over your choices. Because here is what the ancient masters discovered, and what most of the modern world has completely forgotten. You cannot fight your way to inner peace. You cannot argue your way to clarity. You cannot scroll your way to wisdom. You can only arrive there through one path, the path of honest, patient, courageous self-observation. Now let us talk about discipline, because the world has told you a lie about discipline for a very long time. The world has told you that discipline is punishment, that discipline is restriction, that discipline means denying yourself joy, denying yourself rest, forcing yourself through pain with gritted teeth and clenched fists. But the ancient teaching says something completely different. The ancient teaching says, discipline is the highest form of self-love that exists on this earth. Think about this carefully. When you discipline your body, when you wake before the sun, when you train even when you are tired, when you choose nourishment over convenience, you are saying to yourself, I believe in my own future. I believe that tomorrow's version of me deserves to live in a stronger, healthier, more capable body. That is not punishment. That is profound, patient, unconditional love for yourself. And when you discipline your mind, when you sit in stillness instead of running to distraction, when you choose honest reflection over comfortable denial, when you face the parts of yourself you would rather not see, you are saying, I am not afraid of myself. I am not afraid of what I will find when I look deeply. I trust that whatever is inside me can be understood, can be worked with, can be transformed. That trust, that willingness to look, that is the beginning of the forgotten method. And most people never reach it. Not because they are weak, not because they are broken, but because nobody ever told them this was the door. There is an ancient principle, Wu Wei, which translates loosely as effortless action or action without forcing. And most people hear that and they think it means doing nothing. They think it means being passive. But that is completely wrong. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. Wu Wei means doing everything in alignment with your nature, not fighting against the river of life, but learning to read the current and move with intelligent intention. Most people exhaust themselves every single day, not from overwork but from fighting against what is, fighting against who they are, fighting against where they are in the journey. They want to be 10 steps ahead while they are standing on step 1. And so they spend all of their energy resisting the present moment rather than fully inhabiting it, learning from it, and allowing it to teach them what they need to know before they can move forward. The forgotten method teaches this. Wherever you are, that is exactly where you need to be, not forever, but right now, and until you can be fully, completely, honestly present in the place where you actually stand, you will never truly be able to move. Because the truth is, the mountain is not asking you to be at the top. The mountain is asking you to climb. And every single step The difficult ones, the painful ones, the ones where you slip and fall and have to rest and begin again, every single step is the point. Every single step is building the person who will eventually stand at the summit. And you cannot skip the steps. You cannot buy your way past the steps. You cannot scroll past the steps. You can only climb them, one at a time, with honesty, with patience, with a kind of fierce and gentle courage that most people never discover because they never stayed on the mountain long enough. I want to speak to you now about something that almost nobody talks about: the relationship between discomfort and clarity. In the ancient tradition, it was understood that every great teacher, every great master, every human being who ever achieved genuine inner freedom passed through a period of darkness first, not as punishment, but as preparation. There is something that happens inside a human being when they stop running from their pain and they turn to face it instead. Something shifts. The fear does not disappear, but it changes shape. It becomes smaller. Not because the problem became smaller, but because you became larger. Because you discovered something in that moment of facing what you feared. You discovered that you could survive it. You discovered that it could not destroy you. And once you know that, once you have stood in the fire and remained, nothing can take that knowing away from you. This is the forgotten method in its deepest form, not a breathing technique, not a morning routine, not a productivity system. It is this, the daily, intentional, courageous decision to know yourself deeply, honestly, without excuse, without performance, without the masks you wear for the world, just you alone, in complete and radical honesty with what you find. And from that place, from that foundation of genuine self-knowledge, everything else becomes possible. Your relationships become more real. Your work becomes more meaningful. Your choices become more clear. Your life, your one, single, irreplaceable life, begins to feel like it actually belongs to you, because it does. It always did. You just forgot. And today, right here, right now, you remembered. The forgotten method was never truly lost. It was waiting. It has always been waiting, not in a distant monastery, not in an ancient text, not in some perfectly still mountain lake, but inside you, in the quiet that lives beneath all the noise, in the clarity that lives beneath all the confusion, in the strength that lives beneath all the doubt. Most people will hear these words today and feel something stir inside them, and then they will go back to their lives and forget. They will reach for their phone. They will return to the comfortable noise. They will postpone the moment of honest self-meeting for one more day, one more week, one more year. And that is a tragedy, not because they are bad people, but because the life they were truly capable of living will remain unlived. But you are still here. You listened all the way to the end. And that tells me something about you. That tells me that somewhere inside you, there is a part of you that is ready. Ready to sit with yourself. Ready to face yourself. Ready to choose, one decision at a time, the person you were always meant to be. The climb begins today, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready, because that feeling will never come if you keep waiting for it. It begins now, with one breath, with one moment of stillness, with one honest question asked to yourself in the quiet: who am I really? And what am I truly capable of? You already know the answer. You have always known. You just needed permission to believe it. Now you have it.